So everyone, welcome to today's review about a compact camera which I haven't reviewed for a long time. Today we're speaking about Panasonic, the TZ99, which is available in two different colors. It's available in black and in silver. In Germany it retails at the moment for approximately 530 euros. I reviewed this camera back in March 2025 and now it's at the end of October 2025. There are some pros about this camera, some cons about this camera, but you will get a 20 megapixel camera sensor, a lot of zoom in such a small compact format. We will have a look at the swivel display and if it's worth to get the camera or not at the end of 2025. Let's get started. So I spent about 2 hours today to write down all the specs about this camera. So sometimes I will look here on my iPad. But first of all, we're gonna speak about the body, which weighs 322 grams, including the battery. A memory card was not included. You need an SD card to operate this camera, or you use a micro SD card with an adapter to SD. If you ask me what kind of size I would get, it would be definitely the 256 gigabyte memory card, because you can take a lot of photos with it and a lot of videos, and 128 gigabyte sometimes will not be sufficient for 1 week of holiday. So if you're not sure, get 256 gigabyte. You will find my recommendation in the video description below. You have two ports on the side, one HDMI port and a USB Type-C port, which you can use to charge the camera. I have this great looking power bank in two different colors from Anker. You have one USB Type-C port on the side, one USB-A port, and two cables are integrated into this power bank. So that means you can charge this camera, you can charge your notebook while working on your photos or your videos, and you can charge your phone at the same time. So I highly recommend to get one of these power banks if you don't get a spare battery. On the other side, you have a standard tripod mount, and as I said, an SD card was not included, but it's in the same compartment as the battery. But the battery was included, and that is called DMW-BLG10 with 1025 milliampere hours. It should last for approximately 380 photos, but I would say that varies. So if you take now a series of shots in a row, you can probably take about 500 photos if you want. But if you're sometimes looking on the screen, review your photos, sometimes you're taking a video clip and then you're taking a photo again, now recording in 4K 30, now you're recording in 1080p with 60 frames a second, then you review the photos again. So I would say in general, 250 photos is more realistic than 380 if you do both, if you review the files, if you take some photos, if you keep the camera running while you're outside. However, if you go on vacation, I can recommend to get a spare battery anyways if you don't want to carry a power bank with you. So you have this ring at the front where you can change the aperture, ISO and shutter speed with, or you can use it for manual focusing. You have a really simple and well-structured camera menu, but you have an integrated flash, but no hot shoe adapter to attach an external microphone or an LED light, for instance. And it's too bad that you cannot connect an external microphone via Bluetooth. I don't know if they will provide a firmware update in the future which allows you to connect one, but during the time I tried it, it was not possible. Next, we speak about the display, 1.8 million megapixels to control the sharpness, 7.6 centimeters diagonal. It has a touch function and it's super nice for taking pictures from below, from a tripod, or for selfies, for instance. And if you want to use the camera at home, maybe on a tripod, for streaming, because you can connect this camera via the HDMI port or the USB-C port to a video interface, for instance, to stream yourself on your computer. And if you don't see anything on your computer, you still have that swivel display. Next, we speak about handling super compact camera. It fits into almost every bag out there. You have that grip on the front side, and there are some additional grips on Amazon, which I will link you in the video description. So you get an L bracket, so you get some additional attachments to have a better grip for your thumb, for instance, and there are some cases that go around the entire camera. Next, we speak about the autofocus system. Panasonic equipped the TZ99 with a really fast and precise autofocusing system. So you can track animals as well as humans. If you shoot something that is moving, make sure to use the AFC, so the autofocus continuous. And if you shoot something which is static, make sure to use the single shot mode. And by the way, you can use also a manual focus if you get really close to some things and you kind of experience that the camera has some trouble to find the focus with an equal contrast in front of you. But it's super nice to shoot also in the nature, if you want to go out to the zoo, if you want to go on safari, or if you just want to have a compact camera for your home, for daily work, and with a bit of more zoom than your smartphone. Next, we speak about sharpness. So you have a 20 megapixel image sensor built into this camera. I'm filming at the moment with my Sony A1 Mark II, which has 50 megapixels, but I'm filming here myself in 4K, and 4K, if I remember correctly, is something between 8 and 12 megapixels. But the camera I'm shooting most of the time with is my Canon EOS R1, and that has 24 megapixels, but it does have a larger image sensor. So you have now a smaller image sensor, still 20 megapixels, and you can take your photos in RAW and in JPEG. If you just want to take some photos and you don't want to have to do anything with post-editing, just take JPEG. If you want to do some editing later on in post, for instance using Adobe Lightroom, make sure to take them in RAW, so you have more information stored in that image and you have much more opportunities for post editing. You have a 24 to 720 millimeter lens built into this camera, equivalent to a full frame camera sensor. You will get sharp photos also using the automatic mode, but I can highly recommend step back from the automatic mode and try to understand the principle of shutter speed, ISO and aperture. So you will be able to take whatever photo you want using this small and compact camera, because it also offers you a manual mode. That means you can set your camera on a tripod, use a long exposure, keep the ISO as low as possible, use an appropriate aperture, and also take really sharp photos during low light. But using an automatic mode, shooting a line which is 1 mile away, running during the night, doesn't make sense, and the automatic mode will not provide you with the correct exposure for these kind of scenes. But if you shoot during daylight, using the maximum amount of zoom that this camera has, you do get sharp photos also using the automatic mode. And I would say 20 megapixels is most of the time super sufficient to print out the photos, or for even larger printouts, but don't expect too many details while zooming in at 500%. It also does macro, so you can get close as 3 centimeters from your subject in wide angle. The more you zoom in, the further you have to step back with your camera in order to allow the camera to focus. Super nice for detail shots, nature, insects, birds, or for instance flowers. Then you got also creative filters. In there you will find something like panoramic, black and white, sepia, shooting your model with backlight, shooting in sunlight, shooting during a cloudy day, some filters like that. I use some of them, but for most of the time I just stick in automatic mode using this camera. Something that impressed me a lot was the 5-axis optical image stabilizer built into this camera. So it allows you to take a longer shutter speed while shooting during the night or for recording videos. All these scenes that you see here were taken handheld, so I didn't use any tripod. However, I can still recommend to get a tripod to use this camera for even longer exposure time during the night, to keep the ISO as low as possible for the best image quality. while exposing longer, for instance, to take some beautiful pictures of the night sky. Then we speak about video. So with this camera, you can take your videos in 4K with up to 30 frames per second or 25 frames if you want. If you record your videos in 1080p, you can also record with up to 60 frames per second, so it looks more fluent. And if you step down to 720p, which is only HD, you can record with up to 120 frames for capturing slow motion, for instance. Keep in mind, the more frames per second you use, the more light is required for a better video quality. The videos, they all look quite smooth, to be honest, and the autofocus was quite good when I had this camera with me while shooting video. And as you can see here on these scenes, it looks quite stable even while zooming in at 30x or even 60x with the digital zoom, which only gives you 5 megapixels or something as far as I understood it correctly. But still you have 60x zoom here on this camera, quite impressive. So probably the most impressive feature that this camera has is that you have a lens, 30x optical zoom, as far as I remember correctly, 60x digital zoom. However, at the end you have also only 5 megapixels or something, if I remember correctly. But it's quite impressive that they have such a small housing, and built into this housing you have a 30x optical zoom, which only causes trouble when it gets dark if you don't have a tripod with you or anything where you can place the camera on. So you have a variable aperture built into this lens. That means the more you zoom in, the less light comes through that lens. That means you have to expose longer, which is kind of difficult shooting at 720 millimeters and using a long exposure time. Or you have to use a higher ISO value in order to use a faster shutter speed. That may cause some trouble while shooting during the night. So if you're not sure, make sure to take a small tripod with you, place the camera on it, use the manual mode, expose longer, keep the ISO low for a better result. If you would consider this camera for vlogging, I did take some examples for you using the internal microphone here of this camera. So here's the internal microphone of this Panasonic camera. My arm is completely stretched. Unfortunately, we don't have any more wide angle on this camera. There are some cars just behind me. Usually this street is super crowded during this time of the day. I don't know why it's not today. I'm walking through the city in Frankfurt, and that's my little story about the internal microphone. So I'm pretty happy that there are some manufacturers that say that they still keep their small compact cameras running, like Panasonic did. It's super nice that we have two different colors, black and in silver. If you don't want to carry your 10 kilograms of camera equipment with you on safari, it's a really nice camera for your pocket. I mean, it fits into almost every bag, it does not weigh much, and if you are out on safari, if you want to go out in the zoo, or if you want to use it on a daily basis for some snapshots, it's a really nice camera to have. And if you say now that your iPhone or your Samsung phone has more optical zoom than this camera, keep in mind that you have a larger image sensor built into this camera, which gives you a better image quality. You have a 30x optical zoom, nice video shots, impressive zoom, and there are so many additional features that we haven't talked about in this video. You get a panoramic image, you get HDR, you get post-focusing, you can record also time lapses using this camera. But I do have to admit, and I have no idea if they have changed it. As I said at the beginning, I reviewed this camera back in March 2025. Now it's at the end of October 2025. So there might be some changes, but back then they have a horrifying app. So Panasonic, anytime I used this app, I wasn't even able to connect this camera to the app because it just didn't work for whatever reasons. And I used an iPhone 15 Pro Max, so an up-to-date phone basically. It's not user-friendly, it looks weird. They might have changed it. I have no idea because I haven't used this app for a while. I don't have the camera with me at the time, so I cannot prove that it has improved or not. But back in March, it was just a horrifying app. I do have to admit that I've been really spoiled with all the cameras that I've been using for the past few years. So there's always a hot shoe adapter, there's a microphone adapter, really long battery life, changeable lenses. So you cannot change the lens on this camera, you have no microphone input, you have no hot shoe adapter, which I do miss because it would be nice to place an LED light on top or to use an external microphone. It would be nice to pair an external microphone using Bluetooth. By the time I tried it, it didn't work. But it's still a really nice compact camera for vacation, if you want to take some photos of your kids, if you want to go on safari, and if you just need a camera with a bit more zoom for home. My supporter link in the video description, so if you'd like this video, you can find the memory card, the accessories I used, and also the camera in black as a supporter link in the video description. Make sure to subscribe if you like this video. See you next time here on The Danny Life.